Interception line setting is about understanding what is space. I know what space is, but do you know what space is? Where does space come from? Inside, 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 inside. Everything is built inside you, not outside. Inside is everything. Everything that you can imagine. Ooh, I said imagine. Imagine. Position, location, of portal. See the portal? Can't see my finger though. It's traveling. Traveling through light, signature line settings, recognition locations, high change, high position location line tracks. See? 3 orbital line rotation. See that? See that? See what my finger can do? See? Crossing signals. So we all have to learn what space is. What does space mean to you? How do I understand it? How do I use it in all ways and forms? How do I get it in calculation through activation setting? How do I understand how to interpret all levels of me inside? And this comes back to all levels of what is space. Space is an expansion. Okay? Anything in between is time through pi. Looking up, looking down, knowing exactly what you're seeing. Change is everything from inside that changes everything outside of you. So anything you change inside changes everything around you. Now, understanding the concept of what space is and understanding what time is to understand the maintenance inside of you. Right? Again, you go into a communication of a car, right? You're tuning up your car. Everything from inside, right? For it to work, the engine has to be fixed. The alternator has to be fixed. The water pump. When's the last time you had an oil check? Okay. Try to understand the mechanisms of your car, the importance of taking care of your car. How is that any different of you taking care of you? Can you explain that to me? Well, I need my car to get to work. If I don't have a car, I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, so you're telling me your car is more important than your health, because without your health, you can't go to work. Multi-pass. Setting connections to set lines of high calculation is really recognizing the positions that you're in. Knowing exactly what you can do through adaptation of the mind is all levels of its imagination that's given to you. And when you become aware of these things through all calculations, to its AI setting, to its intelligence, you understand how to use it through vibration. Changing frequencies of everything around you. The avatar sequence locations of all calculation has to live in a certain vibration of frequency. Okay, so all it's doing is changing the structures of every single time it's walking so it can survive. Right? Living the avatar is understanding living space. Living space is seeing space. Seeing space, becoming space of time of you inside. Now that alone is all calculated to modify how you use yourself into its environment. This volumes you in all circulation and its rotation. Circulation, rotation, circulation, rotation. Okay? You start seeing things from all around you. Not just in front, not just in back. Okay? So becoming all of levels of awareness of you really understands the conception of space and time of what you are is co-creating your realities so you can surface to a certain line of communication system. And once you start walking in set locations, you come across the structure of a building, you can't change the physical building. You can only change it in the mind. So if you change it in the mind, you're changing the structure. But to understand the provision to the perception is to change the illumination of its structure through the mind. So it comes out. You see the plasma. It's in space now. You change it and you change the frequency and you put it back into its structure. Okay? We're in a different world of a concept of knowing. The knowing is the doing. There's no thinking in set location. The mind of the concept is all levels of space and time. Space and time is everything when it comes into all levels of you. Quiet the mind, calms the soul. Nothing is everything. Let me say that again. Nothing is everything. Look how you can't see position location of my finger. See, you can't see my finger now. It's gone. It's traveled. It's going so fast. Until you see it. Can't see it. See it. Can't see it. See it. See? You have specifications. You have pure intention. What is your intention? What do you want to do? Go through a portal? Wow. Can't see my arm. Where did it go? It's traveling. How is it traveling? How is my arm traveling? Through space and time. Okay? So, recognizing that, understanding the concept is really understanding the provision through formulas of equation. Because that's what your avatar is doing every single time. It's trying to understand why it exists. Okay? What is the purpose? To be in the avatar is to understand how to use the mind of tool set location, how to understand the imagination of your set connections. Okay? This is a process that everybody comes into. Telepathy. Okay? Mind traveling to different lines of different dimensions, of different locations, of different images to its phenomenon. And everything that you do from inside connects to all levels of outside line connections. Reflection doesn't matter. Anything that changes vibration of frequency changes everything outside set locations. Seconds, minutes, hours, and days. But you're living the seconds now. Okay? 0 to 9 line setting. So in that calculation line interference, you have to really recognize how to use it in all levels, right? So I just wanted to show you the adaptation of what the mind can do once it understands its awareness and how it really has to protect its own system and how it has to live in a certain frequency. It can't be here. It's got to be comfortable where it needs to be. It has to be at a certain level of frequency of set locations in high division line setting of travel. Okay? All right, so that conception line setting, streamline interference, comes 6 locations into 9. 9 line center line in position of the box position of triangle, square root location setting, high position location, high timeline, and pi. Okay? Center line in-line rotation interference is 1 position of 2, 2 line position of 3, set location of 6, crosses signals in set location to moon set location setting. Directions of timelines and time seek locations take the 6 line is set location high setting interference, travel position. High calculation system, box lines connection triangle, triangle line connection high system, in position location all levels into rotation setting. Directional line calculation system is 6 another 6 line rotation in position location of travel set locations. Timelines times sequence is line connections of 6 over 9, directions location of 12 line rotation surface, set position. Now, in that calculated line, high interference, my track location is 0 line rotations into 1, 2, 3 set location settings. All right, the open signal lines a ground line, rotation center, and rotation surface. Okay, so you got a flux capacitor location setting, indirect location setting into a diamond core in set line calculation in direct location setting. Okay, surface line calculations. And again, we take another 6 line. So the energy line, the rotation surface to the energy track system location is changing cell line settings. Direction line calculation system is always in position locations, and what you're saying in 6 and 9 line calculation setting is 69 over pi, set position of track line. Okay, now once you get the 0 operational line sequence, it sets line conditions on levels to new flux capacitor. High channel line conditions get the team set, and high calculation line signal and position locations, right? Direction line calculations into numeric about change line and new tensor location of change. High sand line calculation setting into an atom line rotations. Now the molecular light travels line position locations in one measure. One measure sets line calculations into 2 set line calculations into 2 set line position locations into 24 signals. Direction of time sequence times lines times pi. Center its calculation line interference of 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 in continuous force and line stream. Direction of the line calculation system, the line communication line streams, sets all calculations to a magnetic highway in the formation of a wire. This is discharge line calculation system. Energy wash line in line connection system is 6 line settings. Now this is where it comes into 6 main channels of operation, 6,000 line signatures of seconds per line, 6,000 line communication settings into 9 line rotations, and 9 line location settings in light signature line position of panels and high set location. Okay? You're saying, well, what is he talking about? Well, I'm talking about 69 is line communication. 6 over line calculation is the moon. 9 is line calculations to its energy wash, right? Rainbow wash, energy wash. Setting line communication system into line communications into 9 line settings into its surface location and its position. Crossing signals in the opposite circle line rotation interference in 9 set location settings, right? Now, the energy wash is coming in line calculations of 69 plateau, rotation surface, and direct location system, done by equation. All right, so the formulas and recognition high setting, the avatar really understands the frequencies. The frequencies comes in all position locations, all right? So setting line calculation of 0 line and centric position location of 0, 0, 0, 0, 4 line setting, 0, 0, 0, and block line setting, line position location square. Set locations into high interference. This word comes into higher calculation setting line and rotation surface. It gets more complicated. Now, you got a 4 channel line position of block line. You set the 4 line rotation in position of 6. 6 line crosses over 6 line. 6 lines of 9. 9 line position of 4 into 6 position locations. This is a half pipe line stream. Setting the line calculation system. Point line rotation in set calculations. Computer operation line setting. CPU line rotations, 12 line signals into 24 line positions into vector. Vector crosses streams into 3 set locations in high setting. Done by equation. All right. So once you get into calculation, you really understand how to use your cell modification line streams. Okay. Once you understand line settings, you have to really understand how to use the 0 line position locations, equal line conditions of 69, line conditions all levels. So that's line position of 3. Line positions of 3, and that's calculated 6 in set location setting. Now, the recognition line calculation of 0 operation crosses lowers all line set line condition high setting position of another 6 position locations. Moon line, moon line, moon line, and 4 set locations, right? Now, the sun comes in position on standby. Sun's always, always, always in direct locations. Sun is waiting on signal to get an activation line position locations high setting. Now, the reckoning line calculations comes into a back force line setting location of 6 line positions. The recognition of timeline sets another line rotation surface in set location. Setting generation lines in 3 set locations and perception location high setting. Calculation line position of 4, 5, 6 line calculation setting rotation surface in the sun. Sun sets line connections awaiting signal, setting communication line interference. Another ground line of circle line rotation surface in set location setting. Recognition of timelines time stream sets line communication to its pi at recognition location of time sequence. Setting direct locations in set locations. 0 line interference, 0 comes into 9, equal line centers of 6, 6 blocks of set locations into another time pi time division. Set locations of top signal. Right? Done by equation. All right. It's very complicated if you don't understand a line graph. Now, line graph is a line calculation system. Line equals graph. You got to graph line rotations, right? Setting positions, right? Graph line rotations into 2 lines, into 3 set locations, into 4. This is cross spring, high cross line rotation. Now, indirect location system, you put them in set location to a box line, set line connections. Now, this rotates its surface into all calculations into a flux capacitor center calculation, center line position of 3 line ground line rotation into circle line rotation surface in set locations. Setting direct signals. Now, the UFO comes in line rotations, all levels, grounds crisscrosses into line communication of high setting. Travels position location of line center interference. Recognition communication line interference line track locations. Coloration line setting, 1 position location T reception, 2 T reception lines, 3 in position of 4, in position of 5, in position of 6 in cross signal. Setting direct signal line position locations into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in set locations. See the intelligence? Setting direct line center line position comes into 6, measures and calculations into 9. So the UFO line rotation sets line position of box 9 and box 6. You take the 6 line, you take the 9 line in set locations. Directional line calculations comes into its energy wash. Energy wash equal line conditions of metrics, scales. Setting line communication into balanced position locations to high set line position locations, higher levels in recognition location. Setting communication line settings and rotation centers into 2 UFO line rotation surface. All right, so we got in calculation line setting. Now the rectangle line calculation system is the moon line. Moon comes in set location, high setting, rotation surface. Now the moon is trying to understand position location to 1 line setting, which is the 0 line rotation of zone triangulations of 3 set line conditions. Setting direct locations into its diamond core, setting the box line rotations. So in line communication to its setting, rotation surface, all right, done by equation. Now, once you get into the line calculation system, 69 is in its energy wash line position of its moon setting. Moon comes in line rotation, sun comes in position, right? So recognition line calculation setting, circle line rotations into 1, 2, 3, 4 set position. 4 lines crosses signals in position locations of Jupiter. Jupiter sets line calculation streams. 1, 2, 3, 4 line calculation. Recognition line calculations comes into an alpha channel. Now the sun mutates its set locations into 3 set location settings. The rotation surface sets a line communication of triangulation to a pyramid new line set location. The operation system sets up a new ground line rotation interference in a higher set calculation system and a downshift cross line in set location setting. Indirect locations in signal and position of attraction. Recognition line calculation system sets energy graphs of 0, 0, 0, equal line condition of 0, 0, 0, equal line condition high setting. Coming to line condition of 0, 0, 0, equal line condition of 3. Now the 3 line center line condition of equal line condition of 4, 0, 0, 0, 0, 4 line calculations, 4 channels, line position of 3, line condition of 7, 7 equations of 5, 5 line center line conditions of 12, which is again your DNA line communication setting and rotation surface. That's the equation. It's all set up through energy graph line settings and locations to your moon, operation of 69 position locations into operation signals into set location. Done by equation. All right. Energy lights and rotation surface is all line communications to its position locations, how you interline your setting. So you got the 0 line rotation into 3 set locations. All right. So center position locations comes into 1, 2, 3 in position of 4 in position of 5 set location, right? So it's all about understanding how to use a tesseract of a new ground line rotation surface. Now getting in that calculations comes into an orb set line conditions. High travel line center line position location structures its line calculation higher technology. Rotation surface comes into 3 lines at set location high setting. Fractional line calculation system puts another position location security measure into a new pyramid and surface location setting. Rotation surface location comes into new technology and set locations. See the intelligence? Right in center. All right, so the ground line rotation sets a 3 ground line rotation interference and set locations into new plateau line rotation surface and set locations. Okay, direction of the line calculation system sets line position of 2 wave cycles. 1 UFO line rotation, 2 line setting, 3 line positions, 4 line, and 5 and 6 location UFO and set locations. Directional line calculations, scan line, scan line, scan line, scan line, scan line, and scan line center location setting. Fractions of time sequence and times lines of time pi recognizes high line centers a 3-sector calculation system and 4 measures and set locations to its AI of its intelligent location. Done by equation. Okay, formulas of high setting. Now, setting of a formula is really understanding how to reckon a line connects in a high system, reckon its locations into times pi. 3 set line calculation equals of 4, 4 line centers of 6, 6 line position of 9, 9 line center line position locations of 8, 8 position locations into 12, and set location setting. Now, the recognition line connects from high system. 3 and 4 sets circle line rotations into 2 atom line rotation surface. Setting direct signals line communications comes into its projector and set locations. Directional line calculations comes into high set location. High set line coming in and line rotations to its moon set of a new dimensional line rotation surface into 312 set line calculation. Rotation surface comes into levels of the sun line and set location. There's the sun. Now the sun line sets line communication to ground lines, rotation surface. Remember, it's waiting and operation signal. Calculation to its awakening setting locations to its activation streamline and position locations to its team. Now setting line interference and 3 set locations into all calculation of tunnel setting. Rotation surface to earth line rotation comes into calculation stream. Earth sets line calculation of 196 and rotation surface and set location high setting in track location setting. Direction of the timelines time sequence location. Down by equation. All right. Earth grounds, rotation surface, rotation line calculations, earth line rotations. Okay, so 190 line setting of 6. That's 1 over line of 9, 9 position location over 6. 6 line position locations equals box, line position of 2, and position of time sequence locations instead of location setting. High calculations, center lines is communications into pi recognitions. 1, 2, 3. So that's 1 line, 2 line, and 3 set location. All right. High set calculations of 0 and set locations into 2 of 0 and position of 3 into 0 into dot 1 set location. Setting calculations and position locations into line communications of 4 sets 0, 0, and 1 set location. 5 line and set lines and set locations comes to equal line conditions of box into all levels of times 2. So that times 2 line center line position locations comes into box frequency line calculations into measure calculations into pi calculation setting. Directional line calculations comes into 6 line calculation center line communication setting. So set lines of 7 and position of 8 and position locations and 9 set locations. Right? So it's all set up. Clock line setting, set out line position of the moon is operation signals and set location setting. So we take the 6th line and set location of 0, 0, 0. Computer operation of 72 line setting. 7 comes into 0, 0, 0, and position of 1, line conditions of 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, line calculation high appearance, line calculation of 8, 8, line condition 8, 8, position location of space and time, directional line condition 0, 0, 7, rotation surface and 7, 7, position of program. Line calculation, line condition of 9 is energy wash line, rainbow wash interference, line calculation system. So that's 0 line of 9 in second location setting and 60,000 line streams in set location. 1 perception line calculation streamline. 60,000 line seconds per line per unit. That unit line rotations, its position locations into line calculation system, into 6, 9, and 9 line rotation, interference location, new clock line rotation setting position, track location settings, and set locations of 196 and all block locations into new pi direction of time. Sequence location line setting, 60,000 hours. And set lines and calculations per minute, per channel, per mile. Square root line position locations into 0 equal units of 9 seconds in set location. Down by equation. Wow. Complicated. So, a lot of confusion. Line setting line connection of clock lines is really understanding how to set position locations into higher levels of channel through pi position locations and moon operation line setting. This is how you set up 69 connections of energy wash, recognition of time sequence, pattern recognition, voice recognition, computer operation setting recognition, all levels of travel position location into 0, 9, into 60,000 line seconds per unit, per square, per mile, per calculus, per pi, over line, and position of sector and vector calculation line conditions in 2 streams and rotation surface, into 12 line signals, into 24 ground line rotations, into 48 window, into 48,000 line connections, into a 72 computer, into 72,000 line stream, into 144, into 144,000 line calculations of a new clocking setting and rotation locations to a new technology of set location high setting and rotation surface. Done by equation. All right. So let's see here. Captain, Heather, connection levels of Geneva, Geneva line communication system, all levels Geneva, line set locations, Guardian location of Hemdahl, all set line calculations of Johnny position locations, Gypsy line position locations, all levels of Trinity line calculation line interference, all level settings. All right, so I hope everybody's getting a little bit more understanding what's going on now with the new clock line. Now you set these things up, the moon line rotation in 69 positions. As a line communication to more line rotation, you guys are going to be in 70 line calculations. But you're in 69 in line communications into moon lines, into energy watch location settings, 0 to 9 line setting, into 60,000 channels per stream, position location per second. We're no longer at 60 minutes. It's done. It's history. Setting calculation line interference is time zone, time sequence, times line. Center calculation line interference and track locations. Putting the avatar where it needs to be in the mindset line calculation line interference. You're no longer in set location, high set 9 position locations. You're in seconds on channel of operation location of 0 to 9 to rotation surface. Okay? All calculations CPU and all calculations into position line connection to the team set line setting. All right. Putting position line settings, rotation surface, all level set locations. David. All right. Getting in your line calculation and interference is really understand the new clock line setting, the recognition of the communication system. So we're high frequency near channels now. Recognition of timelines, time sequence, lines, line is all calculated, modify how you use your clock lines, right? So we're in 60,000 line setting. Okay, that's where we are right now in set locations, right? So we're in a 0 line in calculation of 9 set locations. So that's 90 line setting in seconds equal location of 0, 0 locations into 9, 9 position of box, and position of triangle set location. That's where we are. Box line calculation, masculinity. Triangle line communication, feminine set locations. All right. So this has changed now. Minute line, center line, and position location is per mile. Setting calculations into 2 line streams, 1 position and 2 lines in 3 sector locations. Okay, so then you got the triangle line, center line interference and set location of 6, 7, and 8 and 9 sets line communication and ground lines. Rotations and 12 sets line calculations center line. That sets position location, height setting locations into 9 equals 0 equals 9 position into box line and triangle set locations. Masculinity and feminine set locations. Putting triangulation line in position, a balanced position location to its diamond core and resistant locations. Center calculation, solar line calculation line interference. New 0 line into a magnetic highway information line calculation setting. Rotation surface locations and triangulation into set location setting. Okay. So trying to figure out what's going on. It's just the modification comes from all set lines. It's really understand how to really understand the calculations to your cells. Your cells are set locations. So these are your cells lines. Okay, your cells are this. Going very fast. They're L-shaped. Some are cross signal, some are line setting. Direction of communication set position. Okay, these are your cell lines and cell locations. All right, now you got your atom line rotation and set locations. You got atom set location settings. Atoms here, atoms here, atoms here. Atom is in location of sequence. Now, line calculation, line interference. Levels of high set of calculations into protons. Protons, line connection of box into electrons. Electron calculations of triangle set line connection system. So line communication is position of balance of male and female set line calculation. Now, the cells lines and set lines on rotation surface recognize the communication in clock lines. Now, it's all calculate high sound interference in 60,000 channels. 60,000 channels of operation, 3 signals in line condition of 7. 7 equals 5, 5 equals location of 12 in position locations. Atom line rotation and infinity in set location high setting in seconds per channel, per string, per calculus, per pi, operation signal, pi direction calculations, atom line rotations into molecular light structure location. Done by equation, right? Every cell in the moon line rotation is now in set location, right? So I've modified all the cell lines in the moons in sector and a line condition of vector through pi position. Done by equation. It's all set. So your moon now is set up location of 60,000 line settings. Okay, it's not in a 60-minute channel anymore. It's on a 60,000 line of communication. The recognition line setting is all about understanding how to surface its position locations to its box, to its triangulation. Masculinity and femininity come together through flux capacitor. Bringing the male line and the female line in communication. Balance calculations bringing the male line together in center operation of travel calculation setting. Okay, so now it's merged. Your moon is self in position locations, all right? So it's self position of its own calculation, of its self stream, of its self engine, of its self completion line, of emotional line, track line, connection high setting, alpha, delta, theta, beta, and omega, and communication at gamma and radiation line calculations, magma and Magnus in set location high setting is now in set locations at 60,000 line signatures per second, per unit, per square, per mile, per calculus, per pi. All set line calculation system into sector and vector position line conditions, all set line conditions of track location system. Done through equation. So setting direct signals is all about understanding going through all levels of view through track locations of travel, recognition of lights, recognition location of shades, and shadow communication, right? We all have to learn how to use all modifications, all line calculations to our emotional track through the masculinity and the femininity to get the balanced position locations, right? Each cell is modified in your center line position locations. It travels so fast in set location settings, but now it's set in higher levels of acceleration line, of a speed line, a rotation surface, and to mock position locations in your capacities of where you are through your thoughts. Direction of timeline and time stream is now in a higher calculation in its variance in its program location of its interface position. Okay, through the moon setting of operation. Done by equation. You see how you set these things up? Do you see how everything changes in all set location high setting? Recognize lines of 0 line in position location of 1 line in position location of 2 set location high setting line position of a 60,000 line stream. So you got to communicate the line communication setting in 2 panel line rotations and 3 set location settings and travel communication set rotation. So 2 line center line interference sets line position locations into 1. 1 line equals box into triangle set location setting. Direction lines of box and triangle in position of 2 into 1 line setting into all communication equal line calculations. Travels line calculations into 1, 2, 3, 4 sets in a new pyramid and a rotation surface and a new ground operation signal and set locations to a new tesseract line calculation of an operation line position location into a dodecahedron or its calculation stream in set location setting. This opens all position location high setting interference. Okay? Done by equation. So, recognizing timelines and set lines of communication rotation surface is all calculated, modify how you set locations into the center calculation. Coming into double helix line setting and rotation surface, setting high position locations into 1 line, into 2 line rotation surface locations. Center calculation line and interference off line rotation surface into position location. High calculation line interference comes into higher levels of travel and timeline sequence. Redstone calculation line and line rotations. You get two of fuel line rotation positions weighted on fuel. Setting calculation line interference into 67 line calculation scan lines. Rotation surface, center position locations. Center calculation line interference. So the UFO line rotation is 6, and position location 9, equal to the box, line position of triangle, inset location, high setting, position location, higher levels, putting position location north, west, east, and south, center calculation stream. Setting direct line signal line interference location opens up the earth line rotation, which is in the ground line shift position. Setting calculation line interference, 196, line position locations, all levels, opens all position location, high setting, and rotation surface. Line communication line and inline rotation interference sets another ground line rotation to another surface location in position location, high setting. Okay, all done through equation. So, recognizing all communication, really understand how to balance these things out through your clock lines, right? New clock line setting, high position location, high setting. So you got a 12 line signal into a 24 line, into a 48 window, into a 72, 144 into 244 line setting, getting you guys a waiting signal to 344 line rotations, setting calculation on lines of 12 into 24, 48, 72, and 144, 244 to 344 location setting. Now, once you get into the 344 line setting, the recognition line calculation changes all line set locations of 3 into 4 into 4 set locations. Circle line 44, this comes into Gypsy, into new portal calculation line in travel communications to higher levels of channel of higher dimensional set location. All right, done by equation. So we all have to recognize our 12 clocks. We have to understand the 24 lines, so 48 windows. Box position location of theta setting into TV reception location to antenna system. See top line signal. Rotation surface, line communication system, line calculation line interference into 4 line calculations to a new pyramid, to a new rotation spin into a magnetic highway information line setting, graph line streams and set location setting. Now the rotation surface sets all position locations when it comes into panels. You got 2 panels line rotation surface, 1 position and 2. Now, 1 line into 2 line rotations, right? Box position locations into triangle. Triangle sets lines back in position. Okay, this changes division. Equal line consists of DNA. DNA line rotates its surface locations to its atmosphere line. Inset locations to its brainium sphere. Sending calculations to its 2 line in a position location of 6 line into a moonset location setting. Done by equation. So I'm setting up DNA track lines of high set locations into cells. Modification line stream is line communicating is all position of code setting, code activation, code weaving. Record locations high setting position of track lines. It's really interesting when you really understand what you're doing through all calculations to set location inside location of expansion through space. High calculations in set line conditions and position locations. Setting position line, high set line position. Record location, all levels of channel operation line position location of the dimensional line rotations, 3 set locations. Into line communication, 3 lines at 4 set locations, 4 lines and set locations, 2 out of line rotation surface into higher travel communication setting. Now, done by equation. Once you understand how to use the sequence pattern in line calculation and line setting, it really understands and opens up all position locations into 0 line, 0 line, 0 line, 0 line. So you get 5 line rotation. Record line, connecting line, center line interference, line position locations, and higher set calculation setting in ground line rotation surface. Okay. Now, the surface line comes into a new flux capacitor, setting calculation line interference. So, once you get in that center, you open up sequence patterns. So, what I'm doing now is open up higher levels of dimensional lines of other universe line position location and settings. Recognition line calculations into your 12 set line calculations in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 DNA line rotations. 12 lines in line conditions of 5, 5 lines in location of 7, line position locations and 5 line calculations in 12, 12 lines in line conditions of 24, 24 to 48, 48 to 72, 144, 2 set locations into 2 line setting line interference of a new position location, a new track line setting, a new space anomaly and rotation surface, and new technology and set location, a higher set line position of a new metric streamline and calculation line setting rotation. Done by equation. All right. So where are we through track interference? Inner self is so clear and plain and pure light with slight formations in me. 6 line unnecessary for me. Well, you just got to find the balance there, Trinity. That's all it is, my dear. Okay? It's all levels of you. But I'm just saying, everything has changed now through moon set locations, right? As of line communication of tomorrow, you guys come into your theta. That's going to be fun. All right, so take travels outline conditions of teams, set them positions back and center, and center calculation line interference, Fibonacci, in 3 set location to 4 set location settings. Done. You guys are back. Setting direct signals into 3 lines in set location high setting. Close your windows, close your portals, get into pre-flight navigation line settings, recognizing the high ascent line position location, higher levels, higher travel, higher calculations, higher positions, higher activation line calculation system of operation. Okay? So I think it's important we understand what's happening now with your set location, just level set location, your settings. Really understand how to use it through central calculation. Yeah. 24-hour invoice chat with self. Sentiments, action does not activate negative voice. Well, it only activates line communication in a positive setting, right? So you put yourself in provisional location, your thoughts. It changes all calculation in your second lines. But now you're working with 60,000 line signature locations of settings, right, per second. So getting you guys out of the 60-minute line rotation is in justifications to its moon setting, then sending its own operation of future set locations, right? It's all done through Pi now. Their X locations on levels has now changed. Changing line communication system changes everything through X location in your settings. It's all through adaptation, right? Through interference. The interfacing line position location is how you see yourself. Is a formation location from inside. Okay? So closing out portals and windows, front and back. Great. Excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of calculation line interference have changed now. So a lot of things you have to start recognizing now, guys. After tomorrow, you're going to mean your thetas of 70 into 35 set locations. This is Fibonacci of the heart line rotation. All right, so it's going to really change your perception location of phenomenal lines. Okay, how you see your iris location and receptor settings of division. Okay, set locations. All right, 5 to 10 minutes. I'll get you ready in set locations. I'll see you on Zoom. Adios.